Hello, it's the loading bar, and today we talk about Bitcoin. It's everywhere, you hear about it all the time. It's supposed to be the future of money. But if that's true, why isn't everyone using it yet? Why is it still this kind of niche thing that only tech people seem to understand? Well, in this video we're going to dive deep into the reasons why Bitcoin hasn't quite hit the mainstream yet. Let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the learning curve, because honestly, getting into Bitcoin can feel like learning a whole new language. You've got private keys, seed phrases, wallets, blockchain. It's a lot to wrap your head around. And the thing is, unlike with traditional banking apps or payment systems, with Bitcoin, you're really responsible for your own security. You mess up your private key, you lose your Bitcoin, and there's no getting it back. No customer support to call, no password reset. It's gone. Think of it like carrying around a wad of cash. You wouldn't just leave it lying around, right? You'd keep it safe, protect it from theft. Bitcoin is kind of the same way. You need to understand how to store it securely, how to manage your private keys, and how to protect yourself from scams. It's definitely doable, and there are tons of resources out there to help you learn. But it does require a certain level of technical know-how and a willingness to put in the time to understand how it all works. Imagine explaining this to someone who's used to just tapping their phone to pay for things. So yeah, the learning curve is steep. Next, let's really dive into the security aspect of Bitcoin, because it's one of the biggest things holding it back from mass adoption. With Bitcoin, you are your own bank. That means you're responsible for keeping your funds safe. And while that might sound empowering, it also comes with a lot of responsibility. Remember those private keys we talked about? Those are basically like the keys to your Bitcoin vault. Lose them, and you lose access to your funds. Forever. No exceptions. And it's not just about keeping your private keys safe. You also have to be aware of phishing scams, malware, and other security threats that can compromise your Bitcoin wallet. Now, there are ways to mitigate these risks. Hardware wallets, for example, offer a more secure way to store your Bitcoin offline. But the point is, you need to be aware of the risks and take steps to protect yourself. Because if something goes wrong, there's no safety net. It's a trade-off. More control over your money, but also more responsibility. Okay, let's talk about sending and receiving Bitcoins, because this is where things can get a little tricky. See, Bitcoin's network can only process a limited number of transactions per second. Think of it like a highway. Bitcoin's network is like a single-lane road, while something like Visa is a massive multi-lane highway. When things get busy on the Bitcoin network, transactions can slow down and fees can spike. We're talking transactions taking minutes, hours even, instead of seconds. Bitcoin's network can only handle about 7 transactions per second. Compare that to Visa, which processes around 24,000 transactions per second. So speed and fees are definitely major roadblocks to Bitcoin becoming a truly mainstream payment method. Let's be real, for most people the main question is, where can I even use this thing? And the answer, honestly, is not that many places yet. Sure, there are some big companies that accept Bitcoin, like Microsoft, Twitch, even some luxury car dealerships. But when it comes to everyday purchases, your options are still pretty limited. You're not exactly walking into your local grocery store or coffee shop and paying with Bitcoin, and that's a problem. For Bitcoin to truly go mainstream, it needs to be as easy to use as a debit card or a mobile payment app. Businesses are hesitant to accept Bitcoin for a few reasons. The volatility is a big one. The value of Bitcoin can fluctuate wildly, so what you accept as payment today might be worth less tomorrow. Some companies are using third-party payment processors to accept Bitcoin, but that kind of defeats the purpose of a decentralized currency, doesn't it? Alright, last but not least, let's talk about the elephant in the room: regulations and scams. Because let's be real, the world of cryptocurrency can feel like the Wild West sometimes. Governments around the world are still trying to figure out how to regulate Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Some countries have embraced it, while others have imposed restrictions or outright bans. And this lack of regulatory clarity can make it difficult for businesses and individuals to operate in the crypto space. Then there's the issue of scams. Because Bitcoin is decentralized and transactions are largely anonymous, it's become a prime target for scammers. We're talking phishing scams, fake ICOs, Ponzi schemes, you name it. And if you fall victim to one of these scams, there's very little recourse. This lack of regulation and the prevalence of scams create a sense of risk and uncertainty around Bitcoin, which can be a major deterrent for potential investors and users. So, as you can see, there are a lot of challenges facing Bitcoin. The learning curve is steep, the security risks are real, transactions can be slow and expensive, and the regulatory landscape is still uncertain. But despite all of that, there's still a lot of excitement and optimism around Bitcoin. New technologies like the Lightning Network are being developed to address the scalability issues. The question is, will Bitcoin overcome these challenges and become the mainstream payment method that many believe it can be? Or will it remain a niche technology for tech-savvy early adopters? Only time will tell. What do you think? Have you struggled with Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more tech breakdowns.